When I was 3 years old, I was apparently quite shy. My mom enrolled me in something called Music for Young Children, and it was like a group music class basically. So we did learn the basics of piano. I remember learning the notes and counting and reading music and stuff. E is an elegant elk named Edith, I think, was one of the things I learned. The circle of fifths. Father Charles goes down and ends battle. Battle ends and down goes Charles Father, and stuff like that. That's just off the top of my head. That's what I remember learning. But I also remember, we did crafts and we were there with our parents and stuff. And so I got a basis of music then, and then through that same program, as I got a little older, I remember taking grade 1 music. I believe I did an exam for grade 1. I can't remember which exams I took or whatever, but then I took the Royal Conservatory with a different teacher. Shout out to Mrs. Hartai, and shout out to Mrs. Herb for music to young children. And so made it up to grade 5 piano on the conservatory sort of side, and that's sort of weird to me looking back, because I could read music. I was playing these classical pieces. I don't have any video of it. I don't know how good I actually was, but in my mind, I passed a grade 5 piano exam, so I must have been sort of good. But it's weird because a lot of that stuff, I'm not saying I couldn't do it. I could sit down and practice and get there again, but a lot of that stuff has escaped me, the technical skills. But I got a good basis of music, and then I sort of got sick of practicing. I maybe got to that age. I think about 11 or 10 was when I said I don't want to do this anymore. My parents, I will thank them till the day I die for this, bought me a guitar, because they must have sensed that I shouldn't give up music entirely. And I don't think I did much with that guitar for the first year or so. And this is what sort of leans into learning by doing. I don't think I did much with the guitar until my youth pastor, John Boyacek, came over and agreed to teach me a few chords. So he did the G, C, D, E minor, that sort of stuff. And then taught me a few songs that he let me play with him at the kids club at our church. And so I sort of stood off to the side and a little bit back from him, probably. That's what I recall anyway. And sort of blended in to him and his playing, and gained some confidence doing that. And eventually got more confidence where I could maybe step out front a little bit. And so that was really how I took off. So I've kind of had both worlds, right? I learned the conservatory, got good enough to pass a grade 5 piano exam, and there's a lot of things I remember like that. Like I said, like the circle of fifths, and a lot of like basics of, recognizing intervals and, stuff like that. And then, but what really took my music and kind of made it something that I never let go of the rest of my life was a person taking an interest in me and getting me up on stage and just playing along with him. And then I sort of grabbed it and made it my own. And I think that has to happen in any person that takes up music. I think a teacher's role, as a teacher, I could, especially if the kid was my own, force them to practice and get really good. But as soon as they're out from under my thumb, they're or if I have a student, as soon as they're at home with their parents and maybe their parents don't push them as hard as I do, then they don't take it anywhere. And what I want as a teacher is to get kids interested in such a way that they'll grab the skills and grab the passion and go somewhere with it, and perhaps go even further with it than I would go. I remember John saying, in reference to another guy he had taught, but I believe he also said it about me, like, someday you'll be better than me. And at the time you're like, I don't know, you're pretty amazing, but I realize now, I mean, he's just a strummer that like, you know, like he was a guy that used his gifts and used his guitar to teach kids, but he planted a seed in some young guys who took it further than he ever did. And that's what I want to do for kids. I'm pretty proficient in certain parts of music, but if I could plant a seed in a kid, say, to make videos or, you know, be a sound guy, they could easily surpass me within a year of, like, just, or even less, of just diving in and being interested in it. So that's what that's what I want to do. So part of what I've tried to be intentional about is making Jam's teaching method different. So I will teach traditional lessons, and I have taught quote unquote traditional, like sit down for a half hour, work yourself through a book, go home and practice and come back next week. I have and likely will continue to do that in some capacity, but what I really want to do with Jam, and what I don't want to get distracted from doing, is planting some seeds. So lessons are important. You're planting some. So this is what Jam Band's gonna be. Come and learn some musical skills. You know, we'll teach you the circle of fifths. We'll teach you some other things, but we're gonna give you a way to apply that right away, and give you some confidence at the start. Like I kind of, blended into John, stood in the back. We'll let you blend in, but then we'll give you places that you can do your thing, and we want you to grab hold of that passion and those skills for it, and take it further than we did. So that's what I want to do. Another unique part, and I hope I can communicate this concisely, but the stuff we work through in Jam Band can be for every level of musician, because we teach, like, rhythm, for instance. Rhythm is part of almost every class I teach. I usually start with, doing some clapping or reading, or like find where the backbeat is, find where the downbeat is. And, obviously a very advanced musician could do some of that fairly easily. But I've also played with some experienced musicians that kind of missed those skills along the way. Maybe didn't put enough priority in it or whatever. And even if you're like super good at rhythm, you could still get better. So I think a lot of stuff we do, and then like another example would be intervals. I said before that, I learned how to recognize intervals. I do remember that was on the piano exam, so I must have had like some sort of, training in that. But until I put it in the Jam Band curriculum a few months ago, there was a lot of aspects of that I wasn't very good at. And so even as an experienced musician, those basic skills are something that we want to hammer down. So I think, we can always get better. So I'm not so much worried about having like a beginner class. I mean, we will have, different class levels and things like that, but I think beginner musicians and experienced musicians can rub shoulders and kind of learn things together.